Every breakthrough starts with a question. Will you be ready when the next wave hits? Well, AI is already here, and guess what? It's not going anywhere. So how do you stay ahead when technology evolves daily? Are we living through the biggest digital shift in history? Will you adapt fast enough to thrive in the AI era? Or will you get left behind? The following is a conversation with Nadeem Ibrahim, a digital marketing thought leader and the host of the Brew Bites podcast. A tech enthusiast at heart, he brings over 18 years of experience in the field and is on a mission to support you as we move towards an ever more digital world. So if you're still skeptical about AI, or you're worried it's too late to get started, or you don't even know where to start, then this episode is for you. And if you enjoy this episode, guys, if you could please do me the small favor of hitting that subscribe button, it would really help me build the show and build the channel and bring more amazing guests and inspiring conversations. But that's enough for me from now. Let's get to the episode. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Hope It Helps, and I have a very special guest with me today, Mr. Nadeem Ibrahim. Nadeem, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. So just to give the audience some context, Nadeem and I met, maybe a month or two ago. We grabbed a coffee at Raw, so shout out Kim. And Luca connected us, so shout out Luca too. And we just, hit it off. He just launched his own new podcast called Brew Bites.
That's right, yeah.
And, I've had the privilege of listening to a couple of episodes. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is kind of take you out of the host situation and put you now in the guest and talk to you about the things you typically like to ask on the podcast. What do I mean by that? So I know your background is you've been in digital media from my research for a fucking long time.
Too much.
And I know tech is an area you're very passionate about as well, and also gaming too. I listened to your last episode, which I thought from a tech aspect was so interesting to me.
Thanks.
So for today, I wanted to kind of touch on those kind of three areas, like gaming, how that played into your love for tech, and how that has helped you in the career that you've had so far. But before we get into everything, Nadeem, why don't you give all of us a little bit of background about yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Oh my days. Okay, so you want an elevated pitch now. The strange thing is, I'm trying to picture myself as a guest.
Yeah.
But I'm still in host mode now.
I know.
And I don't know what I'm doing. And the setting is so different from me, because typically if I'm talking, I'm on a panel or I'm hosting.
Yes,
so now I'm trying to think of what you're asking me, and just for everyone else's understanding is that I've rehearsed nothing. So I don't know what you're going to ask me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what could come up next. And the funny thing is, you've asked me for an elevated pitch now, and I'm trying to figure out what on earth I'm going to say. So I could go two ways. I could go one route, which will put everyone to sleep, which might be a good thing. Or I can talk about something a bit more exciting about myself. Actually, I'll go with the second, right? So I've been in the media industry for about 18 years, and over the last 18 years, I've had the privilege of having a job that's ended up becoming a hobby in a way that, every day has just become such an enjoyable experience. The good thing about digital media or media industry itself, it's all about networking, collaboration, and especially in tech. With tech, you always are on the pulse of what's next and up and coming. So I've been in the industry for about 18 years. I've loved every minute of it. And over the last, couple of years, I've been pondering about what next. What next in the way of, if this is a hobby and a passion point, what else can I be doing? And I gave it a shot when I moved to this region a few years back about, trying to establish myself as a thought leader in cross different ways. So being on some panels, being at some events, and thanks to every single individual who has made those moments happen for me, has then enabled me to build that level of confidence to say, do you know what, let's go one step further and build out a podcast. Talk to a community, build a community. This way Brew Bites had sort of originated from. And Brew Bites has been in my back of my mind for about 18 months. And it wasn't until November of last year, a mutual friend of ours had basically said, if you're not going to do it, you're never going to do it. So I tell you what, I'll do you a favor. I'm going to book you a studio to go and shoot it right now. And that's where I was like, oh, fuck. Shit.
I can't say no now.
I can't say no now. I got to do this. Brew Bites came about that. So Brew Bites alongside my day job has been about how do I express myself on a platform with super smart game changers who have either made game changer moments for themselves as an individual or within the respective field of tech. And yeah, that's what I'm doing now. So
Yeah.
a bit of both.
Thank you, man. So thank you for giving us that
No,
context.
thanks
Always
for
good
having
to. I like people to know, the story and how we got here. So we're gonna start here because this is how you start your podcast. So I'm gonna steal from that and use
No
it in mine.
chance.
Is what's your favorite video game growing up and why?
Allah, man. Okay, yeah, I tried to keep it as I'm not even giving it away yet to anybody what it is.
You have to now. It's your choice.
Oh my God, man. See, this is the thing now. You put me on the spot as a guest now, and I'm thinking, damn. My go-to game, it's a weird one. It was actually ping pong.
Like the pong on the screen, the dong dong.
Yeah, exactly that. And my dad used to have it. It was a console about this size, and you had two pads, which were basically you just turn it around like two dials.
Oh yeah. I've seen them.
Exactly
Yeah.
that, right? That used to be my go-to game as a kid because that's all I had at the time. But then my absolute go-to game was Sonic.
Oh, what a fucking
Yeah.
game
On
on
Sega.
what on Sega?
Sega.
Yeah, bro.
I want Sega
Hell
to come
yeah.
back.
Yeah, bro.
Nothing beats a Sega.
Oh,
And I've tried to play Sonic on the PlayStation.
it's not the same.
not the same at
no,
all,
no.
right?
Sega was special.
It was special, right?
It was like so funny you say that. Like Sega was, for me at least, it was like the genesis of me entering the game, like gaming and the gaming world. So I've been a gamer my entire life. You know, me and the boys for the amount of hours we've spent tracked on games, like thousands and thousands, from the Mario Kart to the FIFA to the online games. So gaming has been such a big part of my life too, and I know gaming is something that is quite close to you as well. My question is, what was it? I guess what is it about gaming that drew you in, and kind of catapulted you into this tech space that you've kind of gone into now?
I think growing up, the only tech that you had back then was consoles. Mobile, I mean, before the Nokia, was it 5110 came out, which was the first one, or 3210, one of them, right? You didn't really have anything. Yeah, you had the Game Boy, black and white, and then, these were the only types of tech as a kid you would have access to, or if you were lucky enough to have access to, right? So those games back then was sort of like an escapism for me. Escapism, yeah, escapism from what was school, mosque, bed, grown up, right? And what I used to do was when it got to that bed moment, I then used to sneak on what I had then was an Amiga.
Wow, okay.
Floppy disk.
Yeah.
I used to sneak up in my room while mum and dad were watching TV or going to bed. And then I used to play Simpsons. So I used to load it, I used to play it, and I used to think, this is amazing. I was able to think of something else that used to take my mind off school and just what I guess every kid would be going through at that point, right? So technology at that point in gaming was quite something that I used to lean on quite frequently. And then it became part of just an everyday thing for me. When PlayStation launched their first console, I was the first at Toys R Us to get it. When PS2, PS3 and so forth came out, me and my family at that time would be the first to get it. Wanted to be, yeah? And then became a lot more akin to PlayStation versus Microsoft, Xbox at the time, right? So it always became a special part for me from an escapism perspective. And ever since then, technology has obviously, it's gone crazy now. You can play a game of any sort on any type of device. After the console, then when Nokia came out with their whole Snake, I used to be hooked on Snake. Me and my cousins used to sort of have competitions. And this was a small screen, right? Of who can get the longest snake. And I remember we used to message each other on pagers to say, I got this score. Because we weren't allowed to have mobile access at that time. So we used to play on our parents' phones. And we used to page each other to say, by the way, send this message to this pager device that I got, 600. And how things have changed so much now.
Yeah. It's really, it's so crazy to see, like, from that time to the quality and the level of production. But not only production, I think with tech, although tech has advanced what you can do, it's also come with significant costs. Like I know I was looking just, I think I was reading something, GTA 6 that's been in production for years has cost over like $2 billion to develop, and it's still not done. I'm like, fucking hell. You know what I'm saying? So I guess now we're kind of in a phase where we have the tech, but I think the price point is still something that needs to be worked on. What's your take on that?
Do you know what it is? I think there's a few things. I just find games nowadays have just become so complex because of what the audience wants now. So we think of the Gen Zs who are far, far, far more into gaming than I am right now. Okay, those gamers they have a different skill set. Their expectations of games though are just like the expectations I have when I go see a movie. It's like there. Mm-hmm. So their expectations there. So I kind of don't blame the developers of trying to meet that expectation. But to take 5-6 years to build a game, it just shows you, right? And I always wondered, like, how they developing these games, if it takes that long, technology has also advanced. Are they in line? Or are they aligned with the advancements of tech as well?
Great point, actually.
I don't really know.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that, yeah.
You know, are they still building it based on 4 or 5 years back? I always think about that with PlayStation or Xbox. They're building the next version of their console. Are they future-proofing it to be where technology is going to be in a few years' time, or is it still... I guess as a developer or a console provider, you can set the trend. You know, you have that much of a universe, and you can dictate what the technology should be, you know, the type of technology you should be consuming for today versus even if it has taken 4 or 5 years.
Do you think, I just had this thought, you know how we've seen the evolution of tech from, we had the cassettes, and the Walkman came with the CDs, and then we had like the VHS tapes for, you know, videos and movies, then that switched to DVDs, and that was those DVD players, and then there was Blu-ray. Like, there have been so many iterations, and now it's all about like seamless digital, online, no consoles, no space. So do you think the next evolution of, I guess, like these PlayStations, all these massive guys that are the hardware is just, I feel hardware now it was maybe the most important thing back in the day, but now it's kind of just your entry into the software world, which is where, you know, things have kind of shifted. So do you think the future is completely seamless? So like the PlayStation 6 is just going to be some cloud server, you join online and you have that capability?
I love that question, but you missed one device actually in your as you're ramping up that. Do you know which device you might have missed?
We said VHS, we said DVDs, we said streaming. No, I can't think of it.
Mini disc.
Ah, of course. Yes.
I love the mini disc. I swear, I
forgot
goosebumps.
about them until you said it.
Man,
that was like GameCube and stuff, right? They're the ones who had those like little ones.
Sony as well.
And
Sony brought. I used to. There's one. I wish I kept it. Mini disc player I had, and it had 2 speakers with cones on it, and they had like different color lights underneath. And you got this mini disc, and you put it in, and oh my god, that for me changed the quality of music. You had CD, then you had mini disc. They were trying to take the CD and put it into a mini disc, obviously, right? But what they were able to do was to capture the quality and add on to that quality. So the quality you got in a mini disc was not actually the same quality you got in a CD. And I used to love it. I used to take it to uni all the time, and oh my god, it's amazing. But yeah, you know, going to your question about will there be a seamless way of game consoles? I hope not. There's a novelty factor around when you go and you get that console that you buy. Take out open the box and everything comes out one by one and everything's pristine. And I hope not. So I hope they retain it. But I think at some point it will.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not now, maybe not PS6, but eventually it will, because things are becoming small and small and small and small and smaller, right? That's the whole point of technology, is that what I have today, this big ass thing. I
Yeah,
need to make this as this, right?
True.
Then I need to make it invincible. So like, unfortunately, I think it will become like that.
Yeah.
But I hope in my lifetime I don't get to see that.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, the way AI is going, we have no
well, this
idea.
is the other thing now.
I have no, we have tech and AI is a very interesting space because before tech, you could project linear progressions in the technology, whatever that case might be. For the real exponential ones, that stuff happened like when computers were made, for example. Like that was the genesis, what led to us being here today. And now I feel like we're at the jet where it's like 1990 again,
Yeah.
but now it's AI, and God knows like where we're gonna be in the future. So it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, even I love AI, and some people have been freaking out about AI. The good thing is now AI is actually in practice. Last year and the year before, we were talking about AI as a theory. It's going to take our jobs and things, and seeing how AI has been helping create a new economy of jobs, but also helping how we do things from a technology perspective. I kind of like it. I kind of like it in the way that it should eventually give you that relevance experience
Sure. Yeah.
in whatever. So can you imagine if you're playing Call of Duty or GTA, okay, today you're playing with your friends and all this type of stuff, and the scenery that you're in is great. But can you imagine if AI knew a bit more about you and started to bring in some of your personal things inside it, in that gaming environment? I read something recently, which was how does your avatar learn more about your life and your family life? And the whole idea about it is you would then take the avatar in whatever game that you want to play with, it will take elements of what you've given it and project it within the game. So I don't want to sound I don't want to sound morbid, but if you're playing Call of Duty and suddenly a family member pops up,
It's kind of fucked up.
fucked up shit, right? But could actually go down that route now, and it's already exploring ways of how to take you as a person and your experience as a person, your life as a person. How do you bring that into a gaming environment? Because that's the beauty about gaming. Honestly, in one of my last shows, I think you had mentioned, Fernando was talking about Web3 or virtual spaces as an escapism, something I mentioned at the beginning. And he was talking about escapism more for people who have well-being issues.
Sure, yeah.
To be able to sort of express themselves and convey themselves and stuff. So there's good elements of how AI could probably learn about you and bring that, those attributes into a gaming environment. It gets a bit worrying when you have violent games and you bring that in, right? I don't think that should be a case, but I think AI definitely has a role to play in the space of gaming.
It was very interesting listening to the episode you guys did about the space, and because you talked about VR and AR and the Oculus and the new Apple Vision Pro and all that stuff. And obviously, after I watched, anything that happens in AI, and the second you put that on, my brain just goes to Ready Player One because that's literally where we're trying to go. We've seen it. I just had this thought. I'm like, why are we now at a phase in, I guess, humanity or whatever, that we are so obsessed with living in a digital world? Do you get what I'm saying? Like the Oculus, like all of this is to not, before me and you would play a game, but we're still in the room and I'm at home and Nadeem's here and we're playing a game. Cool. This is completely different. If I look left, I can see like a tree.
Yeah.
And it's so immersive. And I'm just curious, like I was trying to think, like, why is the desire to create this and like the metaverse and all that there's such a big demand for that now? And I don't really understand why yet.
I think it's the more people are fascinated.
So it's just out of
Humanity
curiosity, you
is
think?
fascinated by it. And I think when consumers are fascinated on something, it creates a sense of demand. So tech firms are going to hijack on that, right? Brands like Apple, Samsung, and Sony and Xbox, for example, as I mentioned, they can state what the trend should be from a tech aspect. So the tech is probably built as in for the next 20 years. But this was drip feed this into society and see what becomes more demand. And we'll drip feed it slowly while we build in more and more and more of it to get, humans to want more and more and crave more and more and more of it. That's my personal belief of it, right? And, as you drip feed new tech, you're trying to understand, you are trying to create a societal change in behavior, which is where Gen Alpha is coming in, Gen Z is kind of there, okay? And that's a new behavioral change that you're trying to set. So, when social media came to the picture, for example, I had Bebo and,
Bebo.
and MySpace, right? And then, I then ended up on Facebook, and then, that was like, wow, you can create you can recall friends from the past and communicate with them again. Amazing. Today, if you say to Gen Z that you have one of those social platforms, they're like, what on earth have you got that? I'm on this social platform. And you're like, okay, this doesn't connect with me. And obviously, being in podcasts and stuff, you have to adapt yourself to all these different platforms.
True.
And they're so different from each other, The engagements are so different from each other. But that's the thing, is that tech companies can dictate what type of behaviors they want you to create in society. So they'll drip feed that tech to become like that. So going back to the Vision Pro, very, very expensive, high entry point there. Not many people have adopted it, right? But it was like, wow, I can watch movies like this, or I can, like you say, if I look left or right, I can see trees right next to me. Amazing technology. But has it created enough demand of it right now? Actually, no. In reality, it hasn't.
That's true. I would agree.
No.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to keep bringing this in to a point where you have enough pool of a demographic, I would say of a generation demographic, that will say, yes, this is for us. And it's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
We are still at a point where gamers still like to just put a headset on and speak with their friends and go with it. They don't want to put a headset on or like an Oculus or something or a Vision Pro on right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to take some time because that is a complete behavioral change.
100%. It's interesting that your theory is very interesting that it's built, but we're like the guinea pigs of like getting that feedback.
I had that in my head, guinea pig.
Feedback to see what's the final thing gonna look like. Like we have the skeleton now, so let's beta test.
Steve Jobs actually always said, fucking genius. So he said, the device you have today will be the worst device you ever have.
That's very true.
It's true, right?
Very true.
I'm so excited
100%.
that I've got the latest PS5, but it's the worst PS5 I'm ever going to have.
That's very true.
It's going to be the best one.
Yeah.
So you're always craving for it, and that's the point, is that tech companies have probably built the best. We just haven't got a glimpse of it yet. And we'll slowly get a glimpse of it through versions that they release or generations that they release.
Yeah.
If they brought everything down on us all at once, we wouldn't know what to do with it.
That's true. Very true. So, okay. So we've kind of touched on, I wanted to start the conversation on gaming because it's an area we're both like passionate about, and I know you love it, and you also have more of a tech understanding of how it's evolved and so on. So it was very, as a gamer too, always fun to, debate these things. Now I'm curious because you touched on Facebook, you've been in digital media now for 18 years. So you've been in it almost since day one. How has your understanding of tech or your appreciation for it, impacted your career? Because it's a digital space and it's always new tech evolving. Now it's fucking crazy. The level of the algorithms are changing and the frequency of how much they change. So do you think nowadays having that technical understanding is actually giving you an insight that someone like me, for example, wouldn't be able to see?
Kinda, yeah, no.
Okay.
So, before AI, what was the tech trend, or what was, from a media perspective, where did I have to make sure that I was understanding tech, right? It was wearable devices, it was sports watches, like fashion accessories, like these types of things, right? AI came in the picture. It changed the game, and it's changing the game. Because as someone who's been in the tech space for quite some time, AI has been one of the one curveballs, which I thought, fuck, fuck, seriously, I'm gonna have someone who's come out of university who's experienced and built some LLMs and want to come in and I can apply for a job to say, hey, we're looking to hire some creative guys who have got experience in building some models and want to do some editing, post-editing off the back of it, drop your CV. Now, if you've got someone who has been at university for 3 years and all they've been doing in 2 years has been building, AI algorithms, versus someone who's been in the creative space for maybe 10, 12 years, no experience in LLMs, where do you hedge your bets? You need the creativity aspect, but you also need the experience of tech. So for me, it's changed the game a lot now because I now need to understand the different types of AIs out there. I need to also understand the different types of coding out there. I also need to understand the different types of, platforms. ChatGPT, for example. You've got Meta's own version of it now.
Yeah.
And this is only going to continue to grow and grow. You've got Gemini. Which one's better suited for me, for example? And that has now changed the game now because you can, honestly, I'm sure there's been a lot of listeners of yours out there who are using ChatGPT today to problem solve. I'm not saying it's a cheat, but also to help a final product. Truth be told, it's saving you time, but is it giving you headspace to learn more? Are you using that time that something like ChatGPT is reducing your time for you to use that time wisely to understand more about AI and LLMs? I don't think we are. I think we're saying that, okay, I got this presentation to do. I need to do a bit of research. Hey, ChatGPT, can you give me some research on where the current economy is sitting today? And I need to write a thesis on something, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you help me produce some slides? And I'll do it for you. Great. I now got time to do. I now got some time for some games. I'm going to go and play some games. I'm going to go to the movies or see some friends. But in actual fact, we should be using that time wisely to put our academic hat on now a little bit, unfortunately, because AI is only going in one direction. And nobody wants to be late to the party. And it's never too late to be part of the AI party, to be honest with you. But you can be late with someone else holding more experience than you, and that's going to probably put you in a bit of a tricky situation. So for me now, AI has changed the game from a media perspective. It's still not quite there yet. It's not like fully integrated into media at all. But it's going to be a time that will come that you need to use AI in such a way AI is already optimizing media campaigns or advertising campaigns for a lot of brands out there. The thinking hat in terms of where brands want more creativity, more ideas, or, we hear in this region a lot, I want to activate in a style that no one else has done before. You now need to start thinking about, for my brand, what's that best activation? Build an LLM that understands the brand first of all, understands its consumers, and take it from there.
So you touched on you were talking about how now AI hasn't been fully integrated yet into media. So I've had so many conversations over the last couple of months with owners of agencies. We had the director of NBC on the AUD podcast. So I was talking to him about digital and traditional channels. And what he seemed, because I guess the question is, I'm trying to think, what's the next evolution of this? Because we've reached a point that, platforms are now aggregators. So in one platform, I can do 10 million different things, which is what people want now. They want more convenience. And not only that, it's getting better at knowing YouTube's algorithm, for example, is out. TikToks as well, out of this world. If I like one video, it's been like, oh, okay, let's send him some more. So I'm like, okay, how much more personalized can it be? I struggle to imagine what the next evolution or breakthrough in media is when it's already so aggregated and personalized, So it's something what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to be the next jump?
I think, interesting you say that. Let me ask you a question first.
Please.
Yeah. Do you opt in for your data to be tracked?
I click accept all cookies a lot of times.
Simple. But there's a vast majority that says, I don't want to be tracked.
Yeah.
Right? But yet, they still want AI to become their companion or know about them. So when I go on ChatGPT, for example, sure, there's a lot of people that have done it. You've asked ChatGPT a lot of questions, and that algorithm's got to know you more and more and more over time, right? With just even any type of query you'd be asking. It's still got to know your personality, even just by your tonality, the way you type. It can understand if you have things in capital letters and you don't say please, it'll give you a poorer response unless you're polite to him. It'll give you a better response. The funny thing is, people or consumers, I would say, majority of consumers don't want their data to be shared outside of third party. They rather keep it safe with the brand or the advertiser they're with. There was this feeling about notion that, what information you know about me as an individual, age, interest, these types of things, is personal to me. So I don't want you to share it. So I don't really want ads that are too personal for me. But yet, when I'm conversing with ChatGPT, I'm telling it everything. So what is the difference between the two? You're actually inputting all your data, but yet you don't want an advertiser to know more about you, even though it's more, assumptive. You like sports, you like Man United. Okay, that's all I know. But in ChatGPT, you're probably saying, I'm feeling pissed off today because 1, 2, 3 has really sort of wound me up, and I've got this fucking deadline at the end. Can you just help me bring it up? There's some people who are very personal in ChatGPT or other equivalent platforms, and some people are not. But the fact is that you are willing to show and give your intent information into ChatGPT versus that, right? So then I go back to about where will these platforms go from an experience? On Google, you got the Gemini. Apple has its own. Meta has its own now. You probably see on WhatsApp. All these ecosystems are building out their own, and I think it'll be there will have to be a matter of time. All that information that you're taking in is another indirect way that data could be used to harvest, advertising at some point, or personal experiences that you would want at some point. Maybe not right now, and I can't comment for any of them that if that is what they're doing. I'm just giving my own 2 cents of where it could go. So I think when you're on these platforms today, when you say you like one video, then you get a ton of them relevant for you. Maybe AI takes it a little bit further. Maybe AI actually thinks based on your emotions. Do you want it? Do you actually need this today? Because maybe your mental state is not here today. So
I see what you're talking
maybe
about.
an episode of your show, for example, I've been searching more about finance, so this brings some finance topic in. That's in its simplest form.
Okay.
But maybe the fact that we know you're working on these projects right now through Gemini, maybe we need to show you some of these instead. Or maybe you're having a mood swing, and maybe we might need to sort of omit these types of shows because it might just make you more and more sad. Or you're feeling sad, so how do we make you feel a bit more enlightened and happy? So AI, I think, will go down that route at some point. It becomes so personal to you that you should be able to control it, but it'll be that personal to you that is even more personal to the individual versus where, opting in just to share very high level information where people were a lot more resistant about. So that's where I find it quite interesting, the fact that people are much more, up for sharing their information freely.
Yeah.
At this stage.
Honestly, that's such a great point, Nadeem. I never thought of that because it's so true. Like my experience with ChatGPT, the more I tell it about myself, or like my business or my podcast or whatever, whether it's LinkedIn, whatever, the more I give it, the better it gives me back. So I kind of, it's weird. It's almost like an incentive for me to give you more of my data. But if it's someone else that wants to accept all cookies or whatever, opt in, it's a completely different thing. And I think although I'm still opting into that, it doesn't it doesn't feel like I'm opting in. Like when I get that thing, and by the way, I didn't even know that this is, maybe I'm just me, and maybe I didn't know. I didn't know that cookies are how people track you. Like, but it's just called a cookie. But instead, it's basically accept to be tracked. But you've called it a cookie, so I'm like, it's a cookie, whatever.
It's a fancy name.
That just when I found that out, I'm like, fuck you, because you got me. Okay, you've been getting me for a long time, and they make it a hindrance, right? They make it so that if you don't want to be tracked, maybe I won't give you as much information. Maybe it won't run as nicely. Maybe whatever. So this whole data thing is, I think you made a very good point that the intentionality of it when it comes from us, whether I'm versus when I feel like I'm fine, take it, just like leave me alone. I want to use this website for something is going to be something to really look at.
I think look at it from the positive side. Why are websites or brands asking for that? Okay, news platforms, they ask, do you consent to be tracked and stuff? Yeah, they want to learn about you. They want to be able to monetize it to sell for advertising, right? But would you not rather see something that's more relevant than having something that's not relevant? Do you know what I mean? Like, I would rather go for the more relevant approach than the less relevant approach, because it's just a waste of space. Because sometimes these web experiences do piss you off because it adds everywhere. Like, what is this? But then I would rather be more relevant rather than just spray and pray. Whatever Nadeem's going to like, let's take a chance on him. So I would rather go for that, I would say.
Yeah. I guess that's fair. It's going to be really interesting to see how it evolves. So I was watching one of my favorite shows is Silicon Valley. Which have you watched it?
I haven't yet. No.
Oh my god, dude! This is like your dream show. So it's basically about these guys who have a startup. They're in Silicon Valley, and it's like that whole journey. The fundraising, the getting screwed over by investors, the changing, and these guys were talking about AI. This is 2017, 2016. And I just rewatched it now, and I'm like, oh shit. Like now, what they were talking about is actually a reality in like life. So it's like, so I'm like, okay, if we've reached this stage with AI, this is where we are with tech, this is where we are with media. The next question I start to think about is, okay, because someone once told me AI, it's like imagine there's a chessboard, everyone's got the pieces. AI has come and cleared that whole board. Yep. It's a fresh game, and the winners are gonna be the people who can use it most effectively. Now, bringing that into the marketing context, because I've had discussions with people on the podcast about how it fits into marketing. It's very helpful to me. But I think it's getting to a stage of what you can do with it that agencies, I know agencies use it, but there will be a time in the future, I predict, that it's going to completely replace them. That's what I genuinely think that, because then I won't need the agency anymore, because AI can take care of a lot of work. If I just bring on one person that I need to do this specific thing, I probably don't need 10, 12, 13 people anymore.
But you mean AI will do all the thinking and then develop something for it?
Basically.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
No. I don't think so. In some ways.
In
some ways, okay? I gotta be careful of that. In some ways. Because you still need a human element of it. AI is not 100% right in a lot of things.
Yet.
But
AI in jobs, are they gonna replace me, or what's the vibe?
You tell me. Fuck this shit. I'm gonna say fuck this shit now, yeah? This was a conversation last year and the year before about AI. AI is gonna take some jobs, it's not gonna take some jobs.
Yes.
When it begins to start thinking like a human, that will happen at some point. Will it have infinite ways of thinking? I'll leave it out there for debate. Because I've seen some robots already where, it has a way of thinking like a human. But if I'm a client and an advertiser to say, let's take it in the media side of things, I want to run this campaign. What should be my creative concept? That could be a challenge for the creative agency, yeah. Or, I want to activate this campaign, where should I activate it? It could give you recommendations, yeah. Then you want to run the campaign, you got to optimize it, you got to bid it. It's already done by algorithms. But you still need a human element to say, You don't need to advertise online. You need to advertise on billboards, or you need to advertise in stadium, or you need to sponsor a boxing event, or by the way, you have again the F1 coming, and is the different type of demographic. You need to be thinking about this on top of your core audience that you might be targeting. So I still think there's going to be a human element of it, because AI, I think, from an operational way of thinking, yes, it can definitely, unfortunately, maybe replace it, but if anything, it will challenge that space. So if you're an operational guy, you need to be thinking about other ways. But going back to my point is, you can train the AI. You still need people to train AIs to do something better. So if I'm an agency today, and let's say I need to operationalize everything using AI, and I'm sure that'll become a conversation in years to come. How do we cut workforce by X%? By bringing in technology, it's going to cost X%. We're going to save 20%, just to say. You would want to have a proposition to say that, Mr. Client, I'm going to bring you a workforce on AI, but I'm also going to bring you a workforce that's going to help your specific AI team to think and live and breathe like you. From an advertising perspective, this AI team will not only think about creativity but also execution, but they will speak your language and they will challenge you. They will have infinite way of thinking to you, tailored to your brand and to your category. I think there's value in there, but you need to have a team that is able to train it, add to it, manage it, and service it. Then the flip side could be that, well, why can't we just bring it in house? You still need specialists. AI will never become that specialist. I like to think my 18 years of experience in this industry still holds some value versus an AI that will come overnight and replace me. So you still need that.
I think you made a good point. Like maybe on operational things, that's maybe one of the main areas, not just in marketing, but across many industries, that's going to be challenged because, do hectic calculations, scheduling, like all these type of things. Those type of things. And it makes sense. It kind of is a perfect fit for those kind of things. But you did make a good point on when you said that 18, the AI won't replace, I don't think AI will replace my 18 years of experience. It's almost like, I think people are looking at AI a little bit wrong, kind of backpedaling on my initial question, which is it might replace your job. Let's call it out. It might replace your job, but the flip side of that is, okay, let's say it takes your job. Then the next question is, okay, but you know your job. Like you have the experience and depth in this field. So the flip side to me, at least I see, that presents an opportunity. Okay, maybe it took my job at that company, but now how can I use this to amplify what my skills are and what I can do? That could create a whole new, and the research shows that in the next 10, 15 years, the gig economy is growing massively. Yep. People are going to be doing lots of different things at the same time. So, it depends how you really look at it, right?
I think we don't even know what it's going to look like.
Exactly. We
absolutely just don't know. But I think it goes back to my initial point, is that when you're using AI for yourself, for your own benefit, and it's saving you time, that spare time you've got, use it wisely and pick it up.
I think that's such a great point. It's like, okay, save me time, great, but what did you do with that time? That's the question.
I have a passion for photography, right? And it pains me to see that what used to take me an hour or a day to edit a photograph can now take me like within half an hour or 20 minutes. Where's the artistic effect in that now? Where is the passion in that? I had one guest, Osama, and he was trying to say to me, yeah, but it's saving you time. But for me, it's about, for me as a photographer, the amount of passion that goes into editing a photograph holds more to me than actual AI doing it for me, to edit a photograph. But now I see producers out there doing shoots. They're turning around their, content for their clients in a day now. That's amazing. It means that they can make a lot more revenue now from it. So what they've done is they've adopted AI to suit their field, and they've learnt more around AI to help benefit their business. So if you're not learning it now, then you're going to struggle. Because like you say, if it replaces my job, but if I've got a head start in understanding how AI in another economy that I can create, I can leverage that. So AI has created a new universe of jobs, a new space of white space of opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah.
We just need to figure it out. And, you know, you could be the next millionaire or billionaire if you figure something out that's a white space for you today. There's like, someone said to me now is, you know, like coffee, right? You know my passion for coffee.
Love coffee.
Bro, and what I'm hearing now is that you're going to have AI coffee shops brewing your coffee.
No, they can go fuck themselves.
Exactly.
With that.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I would fucking hate that, right?
I'm grinding my beans. I'm pouring it myself. There's no
exactly,
question.
right? But why do you do that, though?
There's a kind of like what you talked about with like the photography. There's a beauty in the almost the experimentation that happens every time I make a cup of coffee. There's okay, I can have a recipe, but then every time, did I pour the water too fast? Was it hot enough? Did I leave it for long enough?
Yep.
You know, there's always something to improve on, which is what I love about that. And like cooking, for example, there's always oh, I could have done that differently. But if you're gonna make, if I've never been a fan of like it's funny. I love that you brought it into the coffee example because there's all these machines now that can brew you the perfect thing and whatever. But I don't know how to put it into words because technically it should be able, because of the if it's trained well, to make me the best cup of coffee, all better than I could even make myself.
So I think it comes down to personality. So I think when I want to edit a photograph or want to brew a coffee, you know, it's my personality that's coming through. So if you want to grind your bean on a setting of 6, the same bean, I might say, actually, I want to do an 8 because I want my coffee to be maybe that little bit more punchier than maybe you might do on a little bit of a setting that will give you a bit of a finer, a finer outcome that's lighter, whatever. That's personality coming in, right? By doing things that a little bit manual, you actually bring your personality into it. Although they might taste the same or slight similar differences, it's your personality that's coming through.
Yeah.
You know? So your V60 on ice, right?
Yeah, good memory.
Okay. I remember that because there's the first person I've seen having V60 on ice.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, okay, this is taking coffee to another world of complexity now, you know? The normal V60 is fine, but this guy just wants to take it on ice.
Only ice, baby, yeah.
Oh, damn, okay.
It's funny that you touched on, I think, I love that you brought the coffee example into it, and you kind of touched on this earlier in the conversation where is AI, you know, we talked about it saves you time, but what I've found in my experience so far, yes, it does save me time, but it's a very useful learning tool. Because although, let's say I'll be like, okay, write me this LinkedIn post, for example, this is how I like to speak, blah, 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 blah. So it will write it for me, and then I'll be like, then I might take the skeleton and I go and I will like edit and change things and move things around, whatever. But it's interesting to learn, I probably wouldn't have written that. Why did, you know, like it sparks me to think about different things. Sometimes, let's say if there's a podcast I'm doing, I'm very heavy on, I like to do my own questions because it's just a personal thing, you know. It's like, that validation when someone says good question, I'm like, yeah, it was me.
Damn.
But also I do, sometimes when I just want to brainstorm, it's a great tool to be like, oh man, I would have never came at it from that angle. So it's how you kind of use.
It's a great thought starter, for example.
There you go,
case,
exactly.
Right?
That's I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
You don't want it to be the answer to what you want to accomplish.
Yes.
That's where I think it's cheating.
Yes.
In a way, right. It's great to have an infinite way of thinking, but I think as in the concept of you're absolutely right, because I've used AI to help a lot of different things, even from an itinerary perspective. It's great if you go on vacation and you want an itinerary, it will think of things that you wouldn't have thought so. You know, even to a point of restaurants. The good thing is, if it knows about your personality, which we all are typing in, it'll even give you recommendations of hotspots that's tailored to you. So if I trained it enough to know that what types of coffees that I like, for example, versus you, and we go to the same place, ask for an itinerary and recommendations, we should get different recommendations.
True. Very true.
So it's great. So great for thought starters perspective.
Yeah.
Just not to replace the whole human mind.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's interesting that so I'm part of a founder community here called Founder Connects. Shout out to the FC fam, and it's over 300 tech startups and founders.
Nice.
So we were having a deep dive the other day on like tech AI, what's the future going, and so on. And one of the guys, shout out Moby if you're watching this. So he has an marketing agency, and what he does is he creates AI clones for clients.
Nice.
Okay. So, and he did a LinkedIn post. We were on a call, and he put up two videos. One was him, and one was the AI.
Okay.
And he asked us. We're all on the call. He's like, guys, what do you think? Which one do you think is AI, and which one do you think is me? It was terrifying.
Serious, yeah?
I'd say 50-60% of us got it wrong.
Wow. Okay.
And that is a terrifying thought.
Is it?
But it's because the way he's using it is a lot of people, like we said earlier in the conversation, where it's all about attention. We're in the attention economy now. People don't have time. People don't like making content. They're not comfortable on camera. So if I can train a clone to say all the things I would love to say, but I don't have maybe the confidence to say, and I can produce like 30 reels or whatever, or videos in like a day, it's pretty attractive.
You said it was as authentic as if it was him himself?
Yeah.
That's a bit freaky. That's a bit freaky shit.
I couldn't tell the difference. I literally couldn't tell the difference, and I got it wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because for me, I would love to have another AI version of me in physical form. So I could do two things at once.
Okay.
So if I had to go to a client meeting, or if I had to go even like somewhere else, I would rather have that person sat there instead of me. The reason being is that version of me will have infinite way of thinking. So it would serve me well for that person to be there and not to take no as an answer. No, you are going to buy this. No, you are going to buy this. Can you imagine in property developer if you had AI versions of realty agents?
There are.
Are they?
Yeah.
Actually physical?
Yeah. Not yet, but like online, like virtual ones, there are, and there are studies, like they're showing results, and I'm like we're at a phase that I think if you tell me that thing is AI, like if you recorded a video and it was a clone of you, I didn't know, but I believed it was you, and then I find out it's a clone, it would probably take some of the appreciation away from it at the moment, you know. But I think the way things are going, that's not going to be the case. Sometimes, like we had a call the other day in the community, and people didn't join, but their AIs joined to take notes for them. Like that's where we're going right now. It's crazy.
I would never listen to a podcast that's driven by AI.
Funny you mentioned that.
Oh God.
So we had this debate, and we were talking about will AI podcasts replace podcasts? A fair question, because to say AI won't touch the space is wrong. The conclusion we came to, or again, it's just what I guess made sense to me, was if you want pure fact, just information, there is going to be a space that there'll be a podcast that are only AIs, only talking to each other, that will be very successful. And the people behind it, the people behind it will be very successful, but it's not them. And there was that famous video that went out, I don't know if you saw it, like last year, and it was a video podcast.
Okay.
And it was two people just like me and you. It was a full conversation, and both were AIs. And you would have never in your life, Nadeem, known, unless they told you, you would have never known. Yeah. But at the same time, as I've mentioned this previously on podcast, as this grows, this is going to grow.
It has to, yeah.
The demand for these jokes, the insights, that time, like the human element, demand for that is going to rise too. So exactly. I think there is a space for it, but
because it's too clean.
Thank you. I think
it's too clean. Right? Yeah.
It's too perfect.
Can't be.
We're going to crave the imperfections, I guess.
The thing.
Yeah.
And you can almost sense it. I mean, I guess we all use these. I use it in some of my shorts, and you've got the voiceover as AI. I hate it. But it's what engages people in some ways as well. They expect it, and they expect an AI voiceover. That sounds a little bit robotic. I'm thinking, no, man, like, But you have in some aspects you got to go with the trend.
Yeah.
In some aspects you got to retain it from being not too clean either, not too polished.
Yeah.
Rough around the edges a bit. And I just worries me that AI is gonna talk about like a disease, right? It's gonna come. It's coming everywhere, and it's how you as an individual want it to benefit you or adapt to it. And will I ever use AI on my show, for example? I mean, it contradicts it, right? Because
That's kind of the whole point, right?
I'm about tech.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I have to. Okay, I need to. No, look, it will serve good purposes in some ways, but like that's what you're saying here. No, I don't think it should ever do that.
Yeah, and I agree, and I love that you said it was. I think when you said it was too clean, I'm like, yeah, that's it. It's too clean, and yeah, we're kind of moving towards just cleaner, sleeker, simpler, more automated, like this version of like the world. And I think with time, but this is where the adoption is still taking time. I think we're still people like use AI now, but I personally there's different levels of awareness and different levels of adopters. I'm, for example, me and you are probably at two different stages. For example, ChatGPT, I'm still not comfortable, to be honest.
Yeah.
To speak to it.
Okay.
With my voice. I don't know why I feel typing I'm safe. Don't ask me why, but if I start speaking to you and you're replying to me,
I love it.
I see. There you go.
I absolutely love it.
I see. That's the difference. Yeah. I feel scared. I'm like, that's too personal. But it will be that. At some
I know
point.
some youngsters, they actually use it as a safe space, and I love the fact that is there for that. There's one guy I know. He's built this well-being platform using AI, and it gives people a safe space to be able to talk to an AI that then gets to know you a lot more, but then can keep you in a safe space environment to make you feel that you have somewhere to go, because it's not cheap to hire a therapist. It's not cheap to talk to someone. Insurance companies will cap it at certain limits sometimes, and there's all sorts, whatever it could be. So he's trying to democratize that a lot.
Yeah.
And he's going to individual businesses at this stage to say, hey, HR, well-being is a big issue. Not everyone talks about it. It's a taboo in some areas. You only need to pay for a license, and it's going to half your insurance costs. And it gives everyone a safe space at any given time they want to go to. And they can also, have a place where they can keep with them for the rest of their life. So that's the whole idea about it. Once you subscribe to it, that safe space is for you for life. You can take it. So even if you leave the company, you've still got that access. I think that's great. I think it's great. So I think when you become personal to it, it becomes, that environment that maybe you need that environment of accessibility or to be able to sort of express yourself or whatever it might be. The other freaky side of it, though, is it could become a companion. Maybe you get so used to it and you tell them about it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it brings on a new fetish for some people. I don't know.
It's like Her, right? Like that movie.
Yeah, exactly like that, actually.
Yeah.
Exactly like that. Or maybe it just creates something else for, some other like weird fetish outside that people think, I love AI for whatever reason. Right? But you just don't know.
That's true.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
So I still think, going back to one of your original questions you raised earlier, I still think we as a generation are guinea pigs, but we are still at the discovery phase of AI. So the rush of AI being integrated into almost every category of every sector of everyone's life, that's been forced on us. Or not forced, I would say it's the wrong word to use, but it's been widely accessible for us to want to use it. This whole demand thing we spoke about, right? The curiosity, exploration, fascination. And I think once that dust settles, and that dust will settle, I think, after 1 or 2 generations, then you'll see the everyday practical use of AI and how it is. Going back to Ready Player One, going back to the Future 2, where he's outside and he sees his outdoor ad of a shark of Jaws that comes down, for example. You know, is that the maturity level of AI and technology? Kinda is in my eyes. And today we're just in this mode of discovery, what works, and we are the guinea pigs of this whole A/B test that's going on.
Yeah,
I would say.
I love that you put it. We are the guinea pigs, guys, of this A/B test that's going on. That's such a great line. Nadeem, man, I could sit here and talk to you about AI for like 10,000 years, and we probably just scratched the surface today. But I've really learned a lot from this. You give me a whole new perspective on how to, I guess, look at tech and AI. What my conclusion is kind of, we're kind of at the stage like you have this magic wand or this paintbrush, and it's just down to you to figure out what you can do with it and how you can use it. And every day, I just hear more people doing different things with it. But this is where I think kind of, and you just touched on it, that we are the guinea pigs and it will take time. The education phase, I think, is where we are globally right now, because I'll read something and be like, oh, this guy uses ChatGPT to order his groceries and book his appointment and do all that. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't know you could do all that. So it's just, but then it's like, okay, oh, wow, I can do all these things with it. But then it's like, all right, how? You know, the learning of how to speak to it, how to set it up, like all these kind of things. I think that is going to be the biggest gap before let's say we get to level 2 of this AI phase.
Definitely. I think it's going to, as I say, take a bit of time, but I think certain categories will advance quicker than others. Travel, for example. Concerts, entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, right now, you can get people into a stadium of like 60,000. Why not have it as infinite number of people? You got to put headsets on, make it accessible. You know, I mean, that's not AI specific, but that's more going into the tech space of wearables. But the whole point is that what we experience today is always the worst thing that you're always going to experience, which is why I'm saying this. So I still think that some categories will advance in it, some will lag behind. FMCGs or grocery stores have been testing it for a little bit of time. If you look at, I don't know if you've ever been to an Amazon Fresh store before.
No, I've heard of them. They're like completely digital, right?
So I've got a few in London. You literally go in, put what you want in your bag, and you just leave. That's it. You just sign in with your Amazon app, and that's it, all done. There's a few other chains that are experiencing it, like Tesco's and things, and that's kind of good. But where it gets even much nicer is if I'm able to connect my fridge with my grocery app, and I walk in and it just tells me there and then what I need, what's empty in my fridge, and what it knows that I normally have. You know, as I said, like having a bit of relevancy. I don't like to use the word personal. Yeah. But relevancy of what is needed for you. I think AI can do a lot of wonders to help in our everyday lives. I just hope it doesn't make us or make generations a lazy generation, because we so then thrive on convenience. We live in one of the biggest regions for convenience right now, you know, and if you lay that with AI and all sorts of stuff, then, you know, we have so much time on our hands. Yeah. What do we do with that time? You know, will it be in 10 years' time that we'll all be like the Matrix? We will have things in the back of our heads and we'll just be there zoned out into a different world? I hope not. I still want to see, you know, like school kids outside playing ball, or I want to see, you know what I mean? I want to see still that retro feel of the 90s and, you know, the year 2000s where people were still playing outside. I don't want people to be locked inside of tech. Then we come into this territory of I Am Legend. We're not a soul outside, right? You know what I mean? Inside. You know, fuck that. Yeah. We always do, you know, it's so funny. As you get older, and then I speak to my parents, and I think it's just a natural progression of life. We yearn everyone will yearn for the past, and the next generation will understand the older generation, like, oh, how could you think of this and whatever. And then when they get older, will think the same thing. Like what you said about, you know, the retrofit and being outside and like that. Yeah. Life, outside life, but that was our
life. That was our generation. The next world might not.
And
That might be a thing of the past, but I think what happens in you see shifts. Everything shifts way now. Everything's gonna shift. I think really heavy to convenience, and then there's gonna be a huge market and demand for people who want to do things manually or like
low retro thing.
Low retro, exactly. So yeah, it's gonna be very.
It'll
interesting
become a
to see.
collectible.
Thank
How
you
we
very
live
much.
in our life, it'll be a collectible.
Yeah.
It's like watches, right?
Yeah.
I love watches, and like seeing have an Apple Watch, you got a Whoop there.
Yeah.
And I use it for different reasons. I use it obviously if I'm working out and stuff. I use my Apple Watch for that, or if I'm traveling on the go, I use it for that. But when I could wear just like a retro watch, I will wear a retro watch. And I went for a period because I had a lot of different changes, as I told you, where I didn't wear my actual watch. So busy, so I only had my Apple Watch on. It wasn't until last week when I thought, I'll put this watch back on. I thought, oh my God, is this what a watch feels like?
That weight, yeah, that feel.
I thought, oh my God, it actually feels so nice to wear something retro right now.
For sure.
Whole so I think you're right. We'll go that way, and then we'll probably come back that way, and then come in between somewhere.
Exactly, find some middle somewhere, yeah.
Exactly.
Nadeem, just to round off our conversation for today, I have 2 questions for you.
God.
These are questions I ask all my guests. Looking back over your life, either personally or professionally, when I ask you the question, what are you most proud of for yourself? What would you say?
I would say, I would say that my parents have given me the opportunity to do what I want to do. I think that for me is proud because where I come from culturally, you either go to school or university and you come out with a profession and you're known to do that profession. So doctor, engineer, or in my case, investment banking or finance. I'm in media. And I've asked my mom and dad still ask me, what it is that you do today? I picked my sister up from the airport today and she goes, what do you do? And for 18 years I've explained this to people. I just said to her in the car, because you're still asking me, but you know what? I have no energy to tell you what I do. So let's just leave it. I work. I just say I work. But no, I would say my proudest moment is my mum and dad taking a chance to let me explore what media and tech was. Because there's a bit of a taboo there, like, where is this going to go? It's nothing. And I would say that's one of my proudest moments in that sense.
Yeah, no, and I resonate with that a lot as well. I remember when 5 years ago when I started the podcast, because it was like lockdown, COVID had just started, no one was doing anything. I'm like, this is the time to start, right? Nothing else to do. My parents were like, why would you start? What is it? What's a podcast? Who is it? Where do you watch it? Like, how do you do it? Why would anyone like listen to you?
Listen to it, yeah.
And all very fair points. But now, obviously, 5 years later and getting to where we are now, now they call me like, yo, Khaled, I have a guest for you. I'm like, how things have shifted. But I think I think it's normal. I came from, I think culturally similar. When I was growing up, it had to be engineer, doctor, whatever. And then, things worked out. I ended up in business and finance and so on. It's okay. My siblings took care of the profession, so I could be the black sheep and go do my own thing. And for my last question, Nadeem, what is the message you'd like everyone to take home with them today?
Oh, God. I would say, as much as we take life too serious, if we go and talk about the theme of what we've been speaking about today in the space of AI, I would say is be an adopter and just go with the flow. But don't leave it too late. And whether it's for yourself as an individual or your kids or your kids' kids, like what my parents did, they took a chance for me to come into the space of tech and stuff. AI might be something that's alien to everyone right now, especially if you've got people who have got grandkids or whatever it might be. Encourage it, use it, don't be frightened. Life is what we make out of it. So I always say, I've always lived on the notion or the phrase of one life, live it. And I think that if we are not able to sort of grasp every opportunity that we have to be able to better suit ourselves as individuals, then, what we're doing with ourselves here, So, encourage as much as you can to adopt technologies, use it, thrive it, and, bake it into everyday life.
I think honestly that I think the timing of that message is so pertinent, especially now, because like you said, this next generation, we don't even know what it's going to look like for them. And I love that message because we don't know what the capabilities are. We're all still trying to figure it out. So even I'm not saying we're not I don't think you're telling people like you have to become a chat GPT expert or whatever, but figure out what bits and pieces of tech, whatever, can help you in your daily life, because that's kind of the whole point of tech anyway.
Exactly. I mean, I'm going to be teaching my mom, she doesn't know this yet, but it's been in the back of my mind when I have the time, is how to use ChatGPT. But how to use ChatGPT in a way that suits her everyday life that she uses it for. Take notes. I'm also going to teach members of my family, because we tend to have a lot of family members who end up with dementia, for example. How you can use ChatGPT to store all the good information of that one individual. It would be nice for someone with dementia to be able to have a version of a ChatGPT or a Gemini or whatever, to be able to recall some historic moments that they can recall, because you will not remember everything that you're going to tell your family loved one of, what did they do 10 years ago, what did they do back then, for example.
Very true.
But if you had a family version of ChatGPT where an entire family was able to input it with a lot of memories of one individual, photographs, memoirs, even voice notes that's all recorded and stuff, and then help that one individual remember everything to make their dementia a lot easier on them. I think, there's things like that you can be using for. So, I'm definitely going to be teaching my mom how to use these.
I love that. I'm so happy you brought up that example, because I completely forgot about this. So my wife's grandparents were here back in December, and her grandmother Teta, I love you if you're watching this, shout out. She's like on WhatsApp, and she's like, for someone that age, she's like, to be that digitally savvy is crazy. So she asked me at one point, she's like, Khalid, my friend told me to get ChatGPT. Can you show me how to use it? And I was sitting there like, how the fuck do I even, where do I even start? Like, how do I even explain what it does to you? In my head, I was like, this is like, think of Google, but better. Like that's where my,
you see, you need to know.
But it was just a very interesting, that when you brought that up, it just triggered. That was a very interesting exercise of like, there's that famous thing with like, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. So how can you explain it to so many different people? And I think this is where, touching on what you said, not just because I'd say our generation, we are adopters. The youth they're the ones that are 10 steps ahead of us. 100%. And then it's like, then you have the older generation, like our parents, who are even further behind. So there's such a gap,
right,
of education and link regarding tech that.
But that gap will get bigger and bigger over time.
Exactly. There you go.
Unless you adopt it.
Exactly. Nadeem, my man, Habibi. I want to say, Habibi, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been absolute pleasure. People want to check out the podcast, reach out to you, let us know, where can we get in touch?
Brew Bites.
At
Brew Bites.
At Brew Bites, guys, on YouTube, I think, and socials as well. Yeah. Nadeem, man, thank you so much, bro. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Habibi, of course, this has been really fun for me. Guys, to everyone listening, thank you so much. As always, please make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the podcast at Hope It Helps Pod on all channels. And as always, guys, hope it helps. Peace. Yes, thanks, sir.
Bro. We did it, yeah. Habibi, sorry.
And that's another episode in the bag, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. The goal of this podcast is to provide, as I like to call it, education on demand. We cover a wide range of topics, and the goal is to provide you with the knowledge, the tools, and the insights to improve your lives both personally and professionally. And if you're enjoying the show and you're enjoying the content, if you could please do me the small favor of hitting that subscribe button, would really help me build the show and build the channel, and that's all I ask. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations, bigger guests, and as always, guys, hope it helps. Peace.